again, and welcome everyone to another episode of TH Media More in the Score, presented by Dubuque Bank and Trust. I am your host, Steve Ortman, along with Jim Leitner. How's it going, guys?
Very good, very good.
Yeah, we're rocking and rolling here. As you can see, impromptu shooting here today. We're not wearing our More in the Score polos. So I asked the higher-ups, do you want us to just go shirtless? We'd be looking the same, but that didn't fly with everyone over. Hey, settle down over there. It's not that bad of an idea. But anyway, let's go on with today's episode. You look at what's going on around Dubuque here recently. I mean, what else can you say? The Holy Grail, the Stanley Cup, was in Dubuque.
It was Friday night at the Fighting Saints game. Phil Pritchard, who's from the Hall of Fame in Toronto, brought the Stanley Cup down to Dubuque. It was a pretty neat deal. There was a line throughout the whole Mystique Community Ice Center for people to get their pictures taken with it, and it's always interesting to see fans and their reaction to seeing the Stanley Cup, the championship trophy for the National Hockey League, and it's a neat deal, and it was pretty special for it to be brought here to Dubuque.
Sure, and overall, I mean, did you see kind of a pretty high level of excitement to be able to get there and see that trophy?
For sure. I think you see there's so much reverence for the fans when they come here. They're not used to seeing something so spectacular and so special in the world of hockey. And so, I mean, it's almost like it was a religious experience for a lot of people. Especially, I think it made it even more special that last season the Chicago Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup, and there are a lot of Blackhawk fans here in Dubuque. You saw a lot of people dressing their kids in Blackhawks jerseys, having their pictures taken with it. So it's a pretty neat deal, and I think that made it even more special, the fact that the Blackhawks won.
Sure, and we're fighting. I know obviously a lot of young kids fighting Saints. Were they the players themselves? Did they get a chance to look at it? And
they actually had a chance to look at it. I believe after the game, they did have an opportunity to see it, and I know some players had their pictures taken with it and everything. They brought it down to the Fighting Saints dressing room, I believe before the game, actually, and so they had a chance to see it, and they were just as excited as anybody else. And any player or any kid who's grown up playing ball hockey on the street or playing on the pond back home on the farm, they always dream about scoring the goal that wins the Stanley Cup. So, a lot of those kids were pretty excited to see it, as were, people from age 5 all the way up to age 85. They were pretty excited to see it. So it is a very special thing, and, Dubuque Fire Equipment brought it to Dubuque, or they paid for the sponsorship to have it here. So it was a pretty special night.
Yeah, and a lot of cool things going on there with the Saints. Postseason coming up, and as you look at the prep side, girls basketball season has wrapped up officially. We're moving things into spring, but to wrap up girls basketball, just came out with the TH Media All-Area Girls Basketball Team. Lots of great talent on those teams. You look kind of been taking some slack in the office, but I went. It was hard to go otherwise. I had made the tough decision, went with the Tri-Players of the Year, Katie Furlong of Galena, Jesse Marty of Cuba City, and Megan Moss of Western Dubuque. In my history here with the company, I can't remember us doing a Tri-Players of the Year, but I think that just speaks to the talent level of those three girls this year.
Well, we like to give Steve a hard time because, well, number one, because he's a Patriots fan, so he should get a hard time.
Yeah.
But it is very unusual to have three players who are as outstanding as those three young ladies. And Steve has talked about it pretty much all season long. Who was going to be his player of the year. He went back and forth. I think all three names were brought up throughout the whole season, and I think it was more of a natural that you did that. Tell me about what goes into the process of selecting a player of the year or three players of the year. What's your mindset in terms of picking, who's the player that deserves that honor?
Sure, and all year really it was kind of that three-way race between those girls, and it seems like every year, or all season, I mean, is I went to one of the games. I went to a Cuba City game. I came back and just, wow, that Marty is so good. She's leading the pack. Then I'd hit a Western Dubuque game and see Megan Moss play again, and now she's the front of the pack. And it just switched all year. And this season was almost tougher than ever with those three players. And I really tried to. I looked at the stats. You have the usual, the list you go through for these honors. You look at who made All-State and All-District and who All-Conference, and of course the stats, points, rebounds per game, all those things, and you just try to look at little stats, free throw percentage, any little stat that you can find. I was trying to find any reason to pick one over the other, and this was just the year that it just couldn't be done. So,
well, I think in all three cases, you're looking at players who were probably players that would be on the all-time teams at their school. They're among the best players that have ever played at their school. So, you know, Katie Furlong, I'm sure if there was an all-Galena team, she'd be on it. Same with Megan Moss and Jessie Marty as well. I mean, so it's kind of one of those deals that it's hard to pick one over the other when you have that close. And also, we selected our Coach of the Year this year. Tell me a little bit about what went into that decision and who the recipient is.
Yeah, and winner of Coach of the Year is Mitch Wainwright from Mineral Point, and he made it easy on me. I mean, when you take a program that has never even been to the state tournament, you know, let alone have ever even really thought about winning a championship, they get by Cuba City, who's like the star of the Wisconsin girls basketball scene. They have the most championships than any program in Wisconsin. So they got by Cuba City 3 times this season, make it to state for the first time ever, and pretty handily go in and win the championship. So tremendous job by him. That's his 3rd state championship overall. He's won twice with Pecatonica. So it was a really cool story with him to go back and win another one.
That was a race too. I know we talked about it throughout the school year too. That was a race that was kind of up for grabs too. I mean, he wasn't a clear-cut favorite, you know, throughout the season.
Throughout the season, no.
In the last few weeks of the season, he kind of made the decision for you. But that was another one that was very close. Tell me some of the coaches that you thought were in consideration throughout the whole season.
Yes, other candidates that were certainly up there. You look at Amy Oswinkle in Western Dubuque, what she's done with that program now. 3 years in a row, they've gone to the state tournament, played some really tough teams down there. And in Wisconsin, you always look at Jeff Pustina at Cuba City, what he's done. Had the very talented Jessie Marty, but a team that definitely, you know, didn't bring back as much talent as they had from their back-to-back state championship teams. And so those are really the other coaches.
Well, Galena too, Jamie Watson.
Yep.
That's a team. That's probably the best record they've had or the best finish they've had in probably school history as well. So those 3 coaches, I think they probably benefit from the 3 players of the year. That probably makes them much better coaches.
Yes, and also on Mitch Wainwright's fact, he has 2 first-teamers of the all-area team in Clara Chambers and Jessica Schultz, the East coaches. You know, great talent goes a long way, absolutely.
Exactly. And we had our all-area girls basketball team. It ran Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We kind of split it up a little bit as we've done with our all-area teams the last few years. This coming weekend, we'll do the same with the boys all-area team. We will feature our Players of the Year or Player of the Year on Saturday. Then we introduce the whole team on Sunday, and the Coach of the Year will be introduced on Monday. So it's kind of a nice deal, to wrap up the whole boys basketball season. So look forward to that, not only in the pages of Telegraph Herald, but also on TH Media or TH Online.
Yep, I can speak from experience putting that together on the girls' side. It's definitely a lot of work. And thank you, everyone. It is very hard work, but you know, somebody's got to do it. So that's going to end this episode of TH Media More Than the Score, presented by Dubuque Bank and Trust. I'm your host, Steve Ortman. He's Jim Leitner. We'll see you next time.